Right. All right, I will keep my eyes open to see if others are joining us. Oh, we have one more. Oops, I don't want a message. I want to let them in. Okay, I will keep my eyes open at this stage for everyone who may be still joining us. Thank you very much for your interest in the MPH Nutrition and Dietetics program at the Dalai Lama School of Public Health. I know that you've already been given some background on the MPH program overall, and now you're looking at the sessions that, or the sections that may interest you when you're applying for our program. So I will be allowing some questions. I just want to make sure I can get through some basic information about the program first. And we've evolved a lot in the last couple of years, so I hope that some of this is new and interesting for you. Okay, I'm just going to ask one more time for everybody to mute their microphones because I still hear, and I can't quite see everybody as well as I'd like. A little bit of feedback. Okay, great. I'm going to minimize most of you so that I can see most of my screen as well and not forget things that might be important to you. So again, welcome and thank you for joining me. My name is Pierrette Bouclis and I am the director of the MPH Nutrition and Dietetics program. I've now been in this role for about 5 years and I've seen and encouraged a lot of change in the program so that we can be responsive to the dietetic landscape in Canada that's currently out there. Today, I'll be talking about the program itself as an overview. I'll be talking about how you can customize your program once you're part of it. I will talk about advanced standing. For those of you who are eligible for that, we're also going to have another webinar specifically for you to see, ask questions, explore. So don't worry if it's tough to get in a few questions about that particular angle of our program. I will review the application process and what are the next steps and answer your questions. Okay, as an overview, so I'm going to spend a little time on this slide. We are not an island. This program does not claim to do it all by itself. We are a lean, mean machine. We manage to do a lot of things through collaboration with partners. And so obviously the University of Toronto Dalai Lama School of Public Health is the home for the MPH in Nutrition and Dietetics, but the U of T Department of Nutritional Sciences is also a key partner in this, delivering a number of courses for our students and welcoming them into research activities and so forth. Another of our, oh, I've got another person coming. Another of our partners who has been extremely important right from the very beginning of my experience here, and certainly in the last 7 years, is the University Health Network. And I'll talk more about that. And Compass Group Canada is another one of our partners now, has recently joined on, and they're taking on a very active role in our program as well. And I've got Toronto Public Health at the end, not because they're not important, but because over the past couple of years, as you can imagine, their focus has been on the pandemic. And so we have not been as closely involved with them, but they remain an important part of our program design. In order to join this program, you would need to have a 4-year undergraduate degree in food and nutrition that has been accredited either through PDEP in Canada or through Ascend in the US, or there's a series of steps that you can do to verify the equivalence of a degree that you may have earned abroad through the College of Dietitians of Ontario. I'm just going to ask again for everyone to mute the microphones so that we can not have feedback. Thank you. So the prerequisite is there because we are not just a master's in public health, we are also an accredited program of dietetic practical training, formerly known as an internship. And we are the final step for many of our graduates in their preparation to become registered dietitians in Canada. So it's important that the academic preparation for our program be consistent with the expectations of the colleges of dietetics across Canada. And then we have our focus, which is the development of expertise in dietetic practice. We are an applied program within the health and food systems in a clinical public health model. And for those of you who are interested in our program, that's going to be an important part of your reasons to be interested in our program, because we are specifically looking at clinical public health as a continuum of activity. It's something that we ask you to think about before you apply to us, and you will be asked a little bit about that in your letter of intent. So let's talk about clinical public health. This is not public health. This is not clinical treatment. This is an integration. We feel strongly that no one of these bubbles can exist in isolation of the others, that there is a continuum of health determinants and care, and that when we're making decisions as a clinical practitioner with an individual's needs in front of us, we need to understand the broader social and policy context that that person lives and in which we're offering this care, in order to make effective supports for them. If you are on the other end of the continuum and you're making public health decisions from a population policy point of view, you need to be thinking about the impact at the individual level. And we could go on for a long time, and we probably will if you join our program, about the implications of that for, say, obesity management as a population problem, which could have individual implications around eating disorders, for example, and needing to be very cognizant of that continuum. And on the reverse, you may be looking at clinical patients who need to be discharged from your care, and you don't want to see them come back into your care very shortly because the environment that they go back home to is not supportive of their ongoing well-being. So we really have a focus that tries to make sure all of our graduates are sensitized to both ends of this and find their place somewhere along that continuum as they go out to practice. Probably the most important thing that you're interested in is the program overview, so I won't delay. We have here laid out in sort of a graphic form the way that our courses are followed. And your first term in our program is course focused. There are certain courses that are required as part of the MPH, and then there are certain courses that are required for nutrition and dietetics students. And we need to do these in our first term, if at all possible, to give you a good foundation for what comes next. The foundations courses in your first term, for those of you who are thinking about this in comparison to other kinds of dietetic practical training programs, provide you with a lot of exposure and interaction with dietitians who work in different areas to give you that preparation for actually walking out and entering into practicum placement, where you'll learn more hands-on about the work that the dietitians do across all areas of practice. That starts to happen in your first year in your second term. So really, after you spend a first term, hopefully on campus again soon, you'll be in placement from January through to the end of the summer for at least 24 weeks, learning as, sorry, another person is joining us, learning as you're involved in delivering care, support, and work in those environments. And for some of you, it will actually be longer because there are other pieces that you'd like to add to it. So there's more flexibility to add more time, but everybody will have at least 24 weeks of practicum in order to graduate from our program. And then in your second year, you'll notice that there are far fewer courses that you're required to take, but that's the year that you get to choose more of your elective work. And so while there is one required course in the first term and one required course in the second term, you can see one for nutrition, the nutrition and dietetics program, and one that's an MPH requirement. We also have a year-long course that's happening in nutrition and dietetics, which is called our culminating project. And that is a way for you to build from your practicum experience of the first year and work more deeply in an area of practice that you're interested in doing a project that is of value to an external partner who wants to get some work done but can't see a way to make it happen. And you'll be delivering something in that course that is very practical and useful in that environment. So we encourage you to develop the kind of relationships in your practicum where you see a need and that you would like to go back to, so that your culminating project actually helps you build on the experience that will make your program most valuable to your future career. And then there's an additional nutrition science graduate course. You can take it in the first term. There's another one available in the second term. Those are part of the flexibilities that's allowed. For those of you who are already dietitians, but maybe not so experienced, so maybe you're just at the end of your practicum work at another institution, or perhaps you've been practicing for a year or two and you're thinking that perhaps a Master's of Public Health would be a value to your career, there are a lot of exemptions. So you don't have to do the work that is specifically required to bring you to readiness to practice as a dietitian, and you have a lot more elective to take. Okay, so expectations, it is a rigorous curriculum. We encourage you to think about the fact that this is a graduate program and you will be learning with PhD students, a lot of other master's students from across the university. This will be highly rigorous when you're doing your coursework. Your practical learning will cover all aspects of dietetics. And like I say, it's a minimum of 24 weeks, but you can do up to 28 weeks in your practicum learning. And then, of course, there will be the additional focus from your foundations courses that help to build your basic readiness to go into practice, and your culminating project, which helps you to integrate all of your learning and deliver something of real value into the field. And in the end, you'll be prepared to work in a variety of settings. Depending on how you like to customize your degree, you're going to choose one more than the other, but you'll be ready at entry to practice for clinical, population, food systems, management, whatever the basic entry to practice is, that's what we deliver. So where could you find work? Well, we have graduates who work in a lot of places, and the first couple of pictures are actually graduates of our program. So as you might imagine, based on the idea that this is a master's in public health, we do have a lot of graduates in the public and community health settings. But I'd like to emphasize that, especially through our partnership with UHN, our students, especially those who are interested in clinical work, get an opportunity to have some really good clinical training. And for that reason, there are probably a third of our graduates each year who are entering the program interested in clinical work and exiting the program, finding themselves very soon after graduation in hospital and clinical settings. We have students who are working in the government, in food service management, and I'm going to broaden that because I don't want that to seem like they're running hospital kitchens. Food service and food provision management can take you in a lot of different directions. And I think that's a very important piece that we've become aware, many of our students have learned through our partnership with Compass, is not adequately shared with students in dietetics. A lot of our students also go out and work for not-for-profit groups in one way or another, things like Heart and Stroke, Diabetes Canada, or commodity groups, groups that represent the dairy farmers of Canada, for example, or other agricultural groups. Academic and research careers are also something that many of our students in the past have moved into. We have students who are involved directly in the food industry. As you can see, center there, we've got Suma, one of our graduates who has been a mover and shaker in media and communications. And then some of our graduates go into consulting and private practice as well. And on the side, we have one of our graduates, she actually took over a practice for somebody who was choosing to move in a different direction in their career. And very soon after graduation, she took on a full practice full of people interested in vegetarian eating. Okay, I want to spend a few minutes talking about program customization because we have two things that are possible within our program. One of them is collaborative specializations. These are offered through the University of Toronto School of Graduate Studies to students who are in graduate programs who are interested in working with others to develop a deeper understanding about the ways that some of the big problems that are faced in society can be addressed through an interdisciplinary approach. And interdisciplinary for many dietitians focuses on healthcare disciplines, but these collaborative specializations go far beyond that and allow you to interact with students from other disciplines, be it engineering or business or the humanities, so that we can look at problems that have roots in many of our sectors. There are now I would say at least a third of our students each year who add a collaborative specialization to their program. And what's involved with that is usually tailoring part of their practical work to an area that reflects the type of collaborative specialization they're in. And then a couple of their electives may need to be dedicated to additional courses that would help to support their learning in that area. The other type of customization we offer is an emphasis, and that is specific to our nutrition and dietetics program. And so we actually have 3 emphases, but we only have 2 that are working right now. Again, because we collaborate very closely with our partners to deliver these emphases. And our emphasis in clinical nutrition with the University Health Network guarantees that up to 10 of our students each year who have been accepted into the program and then express through an application process that's really easy, their interest in working at UHN and learning more about tertiary care and clinical nutrition, they have the opportunity to do more of their practicum work with UHN in a clinical setting. They will undertake an additional course through the program, and they'll have their culminating project done with UHN. So this is actually wonderful for our students who are interested in having clinical careers, because they have an opportunity to really hone those skills beyond the basics that are required for entry to practice and develop a network and references for the work that they may choose to do in that area. We currently have 2 classes that are available. We've got our 2023 graduates, no, our 2022 graduates. I'm sorry, I think I've assigned these wrong. Alex is actually a 2022 graduate, and you see her quote there. She has been really excited about being involved in our clinical nutrition emphasis. And then we have our management and food systems emphasis that is hosted by Compass Group. And a couple of students each year are working very closely with Compass Group in the same way. They do more of their practical work with Compass Group. They have learned how to be employing their leadership skills in the role of food provision. And they're also bringing additional learning from the area into their portfolio beyond what's required for entry to practice. And they will be doing their final culminating project, or currently are, with the Compass Group as well. So again, really developing extra resume support for where they'd like to go in the future. Both of these kinds of customization are shown on your transcript and are something that you can boast about on your resume if you finished the program. Nice. One more. So advanced standing, I just wanted to make a point about this, is for students who come to us after being in the field for 5 or more years. And their course load is restricted, there's fewer of them, and their requirements for placement take into account that they've got that much real world work experience. And so the amount of credits is less. Oftentimes, if students come to us for advanced standing and want to do their program in 1 year, if they can take a year off of work, they're able to finish it inside 9 months, 10 months. So this is an option that is very attractive for people who've been in the field for a little while. So the application process, which you may have already heard about, but I'll just reflect again. You need to have the appropriate undergraduate degree. You submit all of your transcripts from post-secondary work through our application portal. There is a letter of intent where there are guiding questions, and we also ask you to express your interest in an emphasis. And then we ask you to include a CV and 2 references who do not have to be academic references, but need to know that you're going to be well suited to the academic requirements of the University of Toronto, as well as to the field of dietetics. And then you see our deadlines below. Our advanced standing group are asked to apply earlier, and they will hear back from us earlier. And our regular program group applications are due by mid-January. So what happens after we receive those applications? We will review the advanced standing applications earlier, and we will have any appropriate interviews for advanced standing in late January, and advanced standing applicants may start to hear from us in early February about their acceptance. And in our regular program, we will be reviewing the applications in early February. The in-person interviews are scheduled for the end of February, and then beginning in early March, the successful applicants hear from us. So it's important to go to the website and look on the portal for more information about the program, for the specifics of the application process, and for the access to the application portal. And now I'm going to open the floor to questions because I haven't checked the time and I want to make sure that we have a little bit of time left for that. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing so I can see you better. And all right, so I can't tell who raised their hand first, but I'm going to ask Kathy if she would like to say her question.
Hi, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Perfect. I just had a question regarding transcripts and such. So say I did get a previous degree already and at U of T. Would I have to send that transcript along with my recent transcript from Ryerson, like all of them?
Yes.
And
we need all the transcripts. That's just the rules. It's interesting for us to see them all because we can get a sense of you know, your different experience in the past as well. But some people come to us with really different kinds of transcripts, like they did a human resource management certificate through a college before they started their university program. That kind of thing, it all has to be shared. When we ask for transcripts, we need them all.
okay, perfect. And I have another question in regards to like when you apply onto the portal.
Yes.
Will we be given like a student, like a temporary like number, reference number? Like, will it be linked to my old U of T account, or will it be completely like new?
I'm not entirely sure of that. That's probably a better question to ask of our grad office. But in fact, yes, you will have a dashboard that gives you information about what your application number is. I believe you keep your old U of T number if you've ever been a U of T student before, but don't quote me on that. And you will have an idea.
Pierrette.
Hi, Diane.
I'm here from the grad office. Hi.
Thank you.
Oh, hi.
Yeah, so that we're using actually a new application system this year called Slate. And yes, in the application system, you will be able to upload your copies of your transcript, as well as you can indicate your current U of T student number.
Oh, okay, perfect. So I'll have to have that on hand. Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, Diane. That's great.
No problem.
Okay, Faria, you've been waiting.
Hi, I have a quick question about the letter of intent. So
Yes.
I saw that it was mentioned there it's 600 words, 3 questions.
Yes.
Where can I find those questions?
When the application portal opens, it'll have the questions embedded in the information about how to apply for our program. And we just changed them this year slightly.
Yes.
So I don't want to say what they are right now because I'm afraid I'll tell you wrong.
No worries.
But
Also,
usually we ask about your interest in the field. We ask about your understanding of clinical public health. Those are the general nature of the kind of questions we ask.
Okay, thank you. Also, when we were looking at the program breakdown, it showed at the same place where we had placement, something about winter and fall courses. So when you're doing the placement, are you also doing courses on the side?
No, you see, our placements are courses. That's part of the challenge.
Okay,
Everything that you do, if you get credit for it here at U of T, it has a course number attached to it. So that's what those courses are.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, I'm going to go to the chat because I see there's a couple of questions in the chat. And if you've already asked a question, I'm going to see if I can get to other people first. Okay, so scrolling up, wow. Okay, so does the department help us find placements? Yes. As a matter of fact, because of the complexity of dietetic practicum placements, it would be really hard for you to be able to find your own. There's competition from, as you might imagine, a series of universities in the Southern Ontario area for many of the same placements. So we have a dedicated practicum coordinator who works with our students to ensure that they're getting all of the weeks that they need in all of the areas so that they can develop the experience that they're supposed to. She tries as much as possible to match your physical location and your interest areas to the types of placements she assigns to you. but I have to emphasize as much as possible, because if you're not in an emphasis where you know you're going to specifically have some placement time with one of our partner agencies, we need to be flexible to make sure that everybody gets the experience they need. But yes, we help you with that. Okay, I'm going to go to a couple more of these. Yes, the word count for the letter of intent has been changed. It's increased this year because we're asking you to express some interest, if you have, in the emphasis programs. We'd like to have a sense of how many people we may be trying to incorporate into the emphasis program after they're accepted in. So again, the emphasis piece, we gave it a little bit more word count, but at the point of the letter of intent, we're really just interested in knowing if this is something that would interest you. You've got a special interest in clinical care, and you really hope that you'd be able to apply and be successful in the emphasis, or you are very interested in food provision. You want to have a leadership role in the food industry, or in delivering nutrition support across long-term care, for example, across Ontario, then we'd like to know about that in advance, so that we're ready for you when you come into the program. How many people applied to the program and how many are accepted? Well, last year was probably one of our biggest years for applications, and there were about 150 applications. How many are accepted? Well, that's an interesting question, because we had we take in approximately 25 students into our dietetics stream each year. And last year, we actually offered places to more like 40, but some of the people got accepted elsewhere into programs that they felt suited their needs better. So the chances of you getting into the program, it's a competitive, but we like to think that if you've got a really compelling application, you're going to get to the interview stage, and then you'll have a reasonably good chance of receiving an offer. The distance education question. Are any of the courses offered virtually? Right now, yes, but that's not the way that our program was approved through the university to be delivered. Our program is intended to be an in-person program. So what we would have to do in order to continue after the pandemic offering virtual education is we would need to go back and have our program approved to allow for that. And I'm not at this stage prepared to go through that work. We've got a number of things we're still trying to work out from the pandemic, but it is something that we're thinking about, because we have really seen how much it's helped our students, how the hybrid might be valuable. And so it's not something I'm forgetting. It's just not probably going to be the situation next year. The average for our last year applicants, well, that's a little harder to determine. While it's important for the applicants to meet the School of Graduate Studies requirement of a mid-B average in their most senior undergraduate courses, we don't actually track the entrance average, because we actually put very big emphasis on your experience and a fair bit of emphasis on your letter of intent. So we want to make sure that we're not eliminating candidates who, for instance, may have worked very hard in school, but also held down 2 part-time jobs. And through their letter of intent, we find out that they were also involved in, care of family, for example. We weigh all of that very carefully when we look at the application package. And every application package is reviewed by at least 2 of us before we go to the stage of deciding as a group who should be invited for an interview. So I hesitate to say something specific about the average. We have had students who've had closer to that mid-B average enter our program and do very well. And we've had students who've come in with 90s averages, and they've also been great. So it's hard to say. Okay, the references themselves, yes, for the most part, there is a checkbox form, but references are invited, and it's very helpful to us if they add some additional information. So it's not a letter, they don't have to write a letter, but if they would like to and can offer us some more detail about the way that they've worked with you and what strengths they've seen, that would be really helpful to our evaluation. So there is a comment box that's a part of that reference form. think I might have answered the question about the grades, interview references, but I'll get more specific. So the most important things that we look at are your CV and your grades. And then not far behind that is the letter of intent and the references when we evaluate your application package. But then we give equal weighting to the application package score as a whole and the interview score that you receive when we evaluate whether we're going to recommend you get an offer. So yes, some elements are important, but honestly, the best thing to do is just to try and present us your best self. Oh boy, there's a lot of messages. Okay, I'm going to just check and see if there's a hand up. I will get to the next question. Okay, no more hands up. Everybody's using the chat. Good, then I'll go back to the chat. Okay. All right. Is there a page limit for the resume CV? No, we haven't imposed a page limit. It helps us if we can get through it in a fairly efficient fashion. So I would say if you've got an academic style CV, feel free, but please do organize it so that it's really easy for us to track the information that you'd like us to focus on. Yeah, that's interesting. I do find that it's less easy for us to evaluate a very brief resume. We can't maybe get as much texture to the experience that you have and what's created your interest in dietetics as a profession when it's a very short CV. Thank you, Diane, for answering a few of these questions. Okay, so maybe Diane can help me a little bit with this one. Information relating to the financial side of things. We don't know the fees for next year, but there is information on the website. It's not easy to find that about the cost for this year, what the tuition is like. And there are a minimal number of additional allied fees that come along with our program for small materials costs. Perhaps if there's a link, Diane, you could put it in so that at least the tuition is visible.
Yeah, so our tuition fees are posted on the student accounts website through U of T. So if you just Google fees, if you Google U of T fees, the student accounts website should come up. But our tuition for the MPH program, I believe, is around, I think it's close to 13,000 a year now, and it's a 2-year program.
Yeah.
And
now,
yes,
go ahead.
Now, yeah, our program. Sorry, for this academic year, I should say. Yeah, our program is also based on a program fee, and it's not per courses that students generally pay. It's for the entire year. So there are 3 sessions in 1 year, and courses that you take within each session are accounted for in the fee, in the program fee itself.
Right. So what that means is when you pay starting in September, you're paid up until August 31st of the following year. And that is, if you pay a full-time fee, that is regardless of whether you're taking 4 courses per term or 6 courses per term, or you decided you wanted to add a course into your summer term, even though you're in placement, there's an intensive course that you'd like to add, there's no extra fee for that. Another thing to keep in mind is that we have a stipend for all of our students in their first practicum. Their first 8-week practicum, it's usually around $3,000 that our students get if they are not getting paid for that placement. So some students in the MPH program are lucky and get paid. Most of the nutrition and dietetics students are not so lucky in their first placements. A lot of the first placements are really trainee style, and that's just not part of it. So you can be assured that there is a stipend for everybody to help offset some of the costs related to doing the placement. However, some of the later placements sometimes can get paid, so that's great. We have a limited number of awards that our students are eligible for. So there's probably 6, maybe 4 to 6 each year who get an additional award of some kind from applying for them or some of the automatic ones. And beyond that, it is possible to work with our program, and we try and work around to support you if you need to work so that you can, pay for the cost of the education, which we recognize is significant. How many people make it to the interview stage? Our experience has been close to half make it to the interview stage. We try and give as many people as we think show really strong applications a chance to be interviewed, but we start to get like beyond 60 people and it starts to get very difficult for us to keep that time open to interview so many people. So that's what our numbers have looked like in the past couple of years. Okay, so for those of you who have completed a degree of some type that is not an accredited nutrition and dietetics undergraduate degree, the next steps for you, if you really want to be a dietitian, that you should probably do is explore what it would take for you to upgrade the credential, which in general means that you need to complete a second degree. However, if you go talk to Ryerson, Guelph, and Brescia, all of them are interested in giving you advanced standing in their undergraduate programs if you've already completed a related degree like biology. So my advice would be to explore with them what it would take for you to complete their nutrition and dietetics accredited program, given your already complete degree. And, I hope that it wouldn't be a heck of a lot more that you'd have to do, but I'm not in charge of that. So that's unfortunately, it's a decision that for our program has to be made much earlier in your undergraduate career. So for those of you who are interested in applying to our program, I am looking forward to seeing all of your documents, but they need to be all in by January the 17th. So the application and any supporting documents all need to be present. I believe there's a little bit of flexibility for references. I think they may have an extra bit of time, maybe a week or two. Diane?
The references technically have about 2 weeks after the deadline, but the sooner the application, the sooner the applications are complete with all of your application materials, the sooner it'll be forwarded to the admissions committee.
Okay. Does both references have to be academic? No. As a matter of fact, neither reference has to be academic, but we look for a couple of things from those references. We really want your references to know you well. We would like them to be confident that you would be a good graduate student and that you would succeed in the field as a dietitian after you're finished your studies. So it's ideal if they're aware of what's expected from a dietitian. It's also ideal if they understand the kind of work that's required of a graduate student, but it's most important that they know you and that they understand your potential, because that's what we'll be looking for in the references. Diane, the next question here is, if we submit our portal before January 17th, can we come back later to submit an LOI and a CV?
No. So once you get to the final review stage, and then there's the continue button. You will have the opportunity. No, that's not right. Sorry, it's a new application system, so we're just familiarizing ourselves with it. You will have the opportunity, you should upload your application's materials before you hit continue or submit, and then you pay the application fee. But if you find that you've uploaded the wrong document and it's prior to January 17th, you can definitely contact the graduate office and we'll be able to change the status of the application back to be revised, and you can upload, you'll be able to upload an updated document.
Thank you. I'm going to go to a last couple of questions because I realize we're probably at time now, but I just wanted to, the application process is probably going to be tricky. And I know that Diane and the team at the grad office is ready to answer questions as you get into it.
Yeah.
But towards the end of the group, I'm going to answer now, are we able to work during the program as a TA, for example? Yes. We, as I said, try to work around any other obligations you have. We understand that it's an expensive program and that you might need to work. Hey, I did when I was in the program, and I do appreciate how much you're going to be trying to balance those things. However, TA shifts are hard to come by. So I'm just warning you that right now. I would say most of our students are working in some capacity, some as research associates, once in a while as exam proctors, but on-campus jobs are not as available as jobs in the community that our students are working at. So you can, obviously you can. You will probably find that it might even add to your experience. Does OSAP cover the financials? It's hard for me to say they cover it, but yes, you are eligible for OSAP. And yes, I encourage you to apply, because if there's a way that you can take some of the emergency work off of your schedule to make ends meet, that would be fabulous. So the other thing is many of our awards are also based on financial need. And if you've already applied to OSAP, you've already completed some of the forms that would show your financial need. So it can hit two objectives with one application. Okay, I think I'm at time. Am I correct about that, Diane? She's still here. She may have had to go. Okay, well, I'd like to thank all of you for coming and asking so many great questions. I would really like to leave you with the impression that when you do our program, you are not being groomed to be a public health dietitian or nutritionist. That is certainly one avenue, and historically that was something that was extremely strong on its own in our program. But now we've got some great partnerships, and I would say each year a third of our class is dedicated to pursuing a clinical experience through the degree and after when they begin work. Probably another third of the class is very interested in population health in some way. And then there's a third of the class that are just out there to learn, become dietitians, and figure out where they want to go in the field. And we embrace all of you and support all of you in finding your way into the kind of dietitian work that you would like to do when your program is complete. So with that said, I will close the session.